Hello, I wanted to share with you some of the wonderful ways that the Lord heals. Let me give you an example. I've had some wonderful, miraculous healings take place in my own life. I want to share them with you because I want to encourage you. I want to also prepare you for the healing that you are ready to receive from the Lord. I want to help your mind get out of the box, the way of thinking that God doesn't really do these miracles anymore. Or I don't think he loves me enough to do that miracle for me. Or, you know what? The thing that's wrong with me is just too hard for God. I think that we say those things with our mouth, but in our mind, when we truly know the loving God that we serve, the one and only creator of heaven and earth and everything that is in it, we know that there is nothing too hard for him. Let me tell you, one day I was a young lady, it was in 1990. I decided that, it was time for my women's yearly checkup. So I went, I got my checkup, and out the door I was finished and went on with my day to enjoy with my family. A little later on, a week or so later, I get a phone call from my doctor, Dr. Miller in Middletown, Connecticut, saying that he needed me to come into the office concerning my test results. And I asked him, can you just tell me over the phone? And he said he couldn't. I said, is it that bad? He said he didn't want to discuss it over the phone and that I was to come in. He really needed me to come in. Make a long story short, I did, fear and trembling, didn't really know what was wrong. And he told me that I was headed to my 4th stage of cancer. And that was hard for me to swallow. I had a family, I had a life. It was summertime. I was ready to enjoy the summer. I wasn't ready to really deal with this, So after discussing this with him, I'm trying to make this video short so you can watch it. I left and he made an appointment for me to start chemotherapy. He said I need to start chemotherapy. Another thing that he said to me was, Mattia, he said, Miss Harris, I am going to do everything that I can to save your life. That was scary for me. I didn't know anyone that had cancer, and I really didn't even understand chemotherapy. I just knew that it sounded like something bad, and him saying that he was going to do whatever he could to save my life was enough for me to run to the hills and hide. By this time in my life, I had lost my faith. I knew there was a creator. I just was kind of hurting where the church was concerned, with the abuse and the things that I have experienced there. I didn't want anything to do with church, so I didn't have anywhere to go. But in my mind, I left that doctor's office and I cried. And in my mind, I remembered something that the old saints would say is, if you're ever in trouble, you could always go to the Lord and call upon the Lord. And so I did that. I decided I was going to go to church. Hadn't been in years, but I decided that I was going to go to church. And I went. I didn't go to the church where I've experienced a lot of negativity. I went to my aunt's church and my aunt and uncle, their church. And I went there, enjoyed myself, and it wasn't that type of environment that I've been accustomed to. So I left. I felt okay. I left, and I said I would come back. So I asked my girlfriend Arlene if she wanted to come with me to church. So she did. We went to church service in New Haven, Connecticut. And when we went there, I was sitting in the congregation, and there was this humongous angel. Praise God. I didn't see his face because he was so tall that he was so high up that his head was like outside, but all I could see, because he was huge, you guys, his hands looked like they had gloves on. He had a gray bucket, and in this bucket, I'm sitting there, me and my friend Arlene. He throws. Now the sermon is going on, everything's going on, and he throws this bucket, the contents of the bucket, onto me. When the contents came out of the bucket, they looked like confetti, little colorful things came out. And after that, it came out, but when it landed on my body, it landed like water. My body was wet. Again, he tossed the contents of the bucket onto me a second time. It came out looking like sprinkly confetti type stuff that you have for birthday parties and stuff. It landed on me as water. I looked over to my girlfriend Arlene to my left, and I said, Arlene, look at me. And she said, girl, don't tell me you said this. I'm like, no. I mean, I'm wet from here down. I'm not wet in my lower extremities. I'm wet up here. She was disgusted and really frustrated. But God is so awesome because he does things, and he'll always give us confirmation, you know. And this is what happened. She was looking at me thinking that I had urined on myself. I don't know how she thought it got all over my shirt, all over my body. The angel again tossed another bucket of what looked like confetti onto me. This time it got on me and her. So she knew something was different. She said, come on, girl. Every time I'm around you, something's strange. Let's go. She was aggravated and frustrated. Now that I think about it, I think she was more afraid than anything. I'm looking around the congregation. The church is going on as normal. It's like we're in this total zone. Praise God. That no one's aware of what's taking place. At this point, I'm ashamed, and I'm saying, I don't know if I'm coming back to church because the people are going to be in the chair. There were wooden pews, and well, not pews, wooden where you sit in the congregation. And the floor was wet, the wooden seat was wet, and I'm like, oh gosh, it's embarrassing. So I left. I went out of the church. I opened the door, and it's like the sun just shined on me. It was bright. And I just felt like, oh, I feel good. I just felt good. I felt like I really felt good. And I left. I felt good. A little while later, I said, you know, I'm not going to keep running from my doctor. I am going to go and start this chemotherapy, you know. So I did. I called the doctor back, called Dr. Miller back, and he fussed, complained, and he said how, you know, he was upset. I could have made. He said he didn't know how much damage had been done because I had run from the doctor for a while. It had been months. I was avoiding his phone calls and avoiding the chemotherapy that they had set up for me. So he told me to come back in because he had to do tests all over again. He had to do tests because he needed to see what strategy they were going to take this time with me. Because things had changed. I had been gone too long. So I went in, took him back. He was upset with me. So he took and he scraped me and everything. And what he did, he wound sending the stuff off, and he said he'll get me another appointment, see how things are going, what kind of aggressive treatment they have to go to save my life. I wait. He calls me back into the office to go over the results with me, and he says something's not right. He's like, something's not right. So he went for an emergency. He contacted the Center for Disease Control, some kind of place where my test was sent to, and he the Center for Disease Control, I believe it was, and the place where they sent my test results to see what was going on with these tests, because I was going to stage 4, and some treatment to save me. I was not showing anything, and so he had me he said, do you mind if I take some more samples? So he said he had to test me again just to see what was going on. They did a rush on it, got my stuff back, and he looked at me and he said, Miss Harris, he said, I've never seen anything like this. He said, what have you done since the last time you've been here? And I didn't know what I had done. I said, well, I haven't done anything. He said, well, have you anything that you've never drunk before? Have you been anywhere? Have you gone anywhere? Have you traveled out of the country? You know, he didn't know if I traveled out of the country and tried some herbs or something. He didn't know. And I told him I really hadn't done anything. And he said, well, whatever it was that you're doing, whatever it was that you did or you're doing, he said, keep doing it. He said, I've never seen anything like this. He said, this just does not happen. And he looked at me with amazement, and he asked me if he could have some more, take another sample. And I gladly did that. I think that somewhere he thought that the cure was in my system, that I had something in me that was healing that cancer. So I left and I was happy, and I got hard. I still didn't understand, but I was glad. And I got, and that mental light bulb hit, and I said, it was the angel, not giving the angel glory. I'm saying it was the angel of the Lord that threw that stuff on me. I realized that that's what it was. It had to be. That's the only strange thing that has happened to me within that time period, from when I went and got that test result. So, I think about that often, God's grace and his mercy. I'm expecting that, and I have some more stories of miracles that the Lord has done where he's used, not man, but he's used his own hand to come upon my head. And his hand is so huge that it covers my whole face. It's the strangest thing to feel. When his head, you feel like your head is the size of a pea when he comes down on top of it to heal you. God is going to get all the glory at the Jesus Miracle and Healing Crusade. I know he will use me to lay hands, and possibly some of you to lay hands on the people that he's training up. But I believe with my heart and with the thing, it's not to use much of anyone except for himself and the angels of the Lord. I believe, from my own experience, because I've experienced the supernatural healing of God, and I know what he wants to do in this season. The enemy is Satan is, and his co-hosts. They are supernaturalling everything, and everything. When you hear supernatural, you automatically think of, because they have television and entertainment has bombarded society with supernatural, and they have taken that as if it's theirs. But there is one he is the Lord of the supernatural. He is supernatural over all things. He has power over all things, and he is the Lord. He is I am. We thank Jesus for the blood that he shed. We thank him. He's such an awesome sacrifice. I'm excited about how God is going to heal. I believe it's going to just be exciting. I mean, the way he's showing me things and getting me prepared. I did not want to make this video long, but it was a long story. I have not had any reoccurrences with that cancer. It's been a lot of years. It was 1990. It's 2014. And I know that God healed me that way. I know that he used his angel of the Lord to heal me. And I know that he will use his angel of the Lord to heal some people here in Miami in June on the 6th, 7th, 8th. And he's going to on people, and he's going to touch some himself again. I say, he will be glorified in healing. I love you. God bless.